DM dilemma time on Y101-601-995-1017. If you've got any advice for Two Forward Fran, who sent us this DM, it says, I got a DM dilemma for y'all, but I got to stay anonymous. No problem. We'll call you Two Forward Fran. She says, a cute guy came into my work and we talked a couple times. We have similar interests and hit it off. He asked me to go on a movie date. We texted all week. Then the day before the date, I got the creepiest question.
Ooh.
Quote, are you on the pill? Of course, I didn't give him an answer. I canceled the date and still feel creeped out. We were not texting like that at all. So the question came out of nowhere. Am I overreacting to this, or is that a simple no-brainer? So was she right to just cut this guy off?
Yeah.
Basically.
I'm totally on her side that like you need to be done with this guy, but something that I'm learning, and maybe I'm not as pro ghosting as I used to be, is you do need to give people a chance to grow. And most likely if you send something and you say, hey, that is very presumptuous of you to send, and even if we were sending maybe some more flirty type messages, maybe there were some pictures that were sent, that's still way too forward and way too presumptuous for you to send this early in the game for any girl. And he's probably going to project some insecurity back to you, but that does give him the chance to grow. And we all get better if we give each other a chance to grow.
Shunda says absolutely run. She's in early. Her opinion is you did the right thing by cutting this guy off and not talking to him anymore. I also think that this is a red flag, but kind of for a completely different reason other than being too forward or too presumptuous.
Yeah.
I myself would never ask that question to a girl I was talking to.
Thank goodness. It's not good. Even
if the conversation was kind of along those lines. And the reason for that is because I don't really care about the answer to her question and I'm going to be very, very delicate with this, but there's other precautions to be taken that I think a responsible man would take every precaution. So the answer to that question wouldn't matter. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
Or trying to say?
No, like that's kind of the side that I'm on too. Like even if it was one of my girlfriends that I know is very active on the apps and she is, willing to exchange Snapchats pretty early and send some pictures and videos. If she were to get a text like that, I would tell her, yeah, but is that somebody you really want to be doing that with? Somebody who's like, well, if the answer is yes, then there's something I don't have to do. Is that really who you want to be with when you don't even know them?
Exactly my point.
Yeah, no, that's kudos to you.
But I would love to know from anybody who has been asked that question early on, are you on the pill? And it wasn't a complete turnoff because that probably has worked for that guy before. Like I'm sure Fran wasn't the first person who got asked that question by that guy early on, and I don't know if he was cut off every time. Did it happen? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, I've been asked that question before.
601-995-1017. Fran got asked a very personal question by a guy she was planning on going on a first date with and wants to know if she was right or wrong for saying, you know what, no, and now I'm completely turned off by you, and you're gross, and I don't want to go on a date with you. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Trying to find a solution to the DM dilemma. Two Forward Fran had messaged us and said, look, I was talking to this really cute guy. We had been texting for like a week. He asked me on a movie date, and then out of the blue, there was no kind of adult conversation whatsoever happening over text message. He said, are you on the pill? The day before the first date, Fran canceled the date, said, don't want to go out with you anymore. And it ruined this guy for her.
Yeah.
But she wants to know, should she have given him a chance? Is that really that much of a red flag?
So I don't know what Zach is expecting of me here because he writes, Allison's going to roast this guy, but then he says, please don't bully this guy. So I don't know what line I'm straddling here. Ooh. But I do feel like I'm maturing a little bit. Old me would have just said, ghost him. He's trash. He's disgusting. But I don't think we can elevate society if we don't play our part in letting people know. So I think you give him a heads up of like, hey, here's why I'm going to ghost you, that message is way too forward. And you need to have a little bit more respect for the people you're trying to date.
601-995-1017. Izzy texted us and said she was right to ghost him. His intentions sound more insincere, to be honest. So that makes sense. Let's go to Alexandria. Thanks for calling us. Welcome to the show. What are your thoughts?
If they were having a great conversation and just vibing with each other before the actual date, then that question shouldn't even came up with. Not only, I know she probably had standards about herself, but also him having standards about himself. Like, you just met someone, y'all haven't even had y'all first date, and that's one of the first questions before y'all date that comes into your head. It just shows that he doesn't really value himself, that he's willing to just give himself up that easily as well, to me.
So would you just ghost him, or would you kind of say that, like, hey, clearly you don't even value yourself if this is the kind of like, would you give him a chance? Not saying, but just like let him know so that way in the future maybe he can make better decisions.
I would definitely be forward with him and say, hey, that's just not something I feel like we should be even discussing at this point.
Alexandria, I love that because men are so dumb that we need all the help we can get. So if you don't tell us what we did wrong, we're not going to know.
Right.
Thank you for the call. We appreciate you.
I'm dying over this text that we got that said, asked him if he's had a vasectomy.
That's really funny. So I would like to follow up with Fran on this. I'm just curious. I mean, not necessarily like officially or anything, but I am curious if she would have been offended if he didn't ask the question. They go on the date and he like gets his wallet out of his pocket to pay for the date. He's paying for the date. Good for him. But then supplies like fall out of his pocket. Like, is she going to be offended at that? Would she feel like that was too presumptuous, or like a Boy Scout, always be prepared?
Well, it does feel a little presumptuous, so I could see both sides. I could see you being like, okay, he's prepared, but he hasn't been forward yet. But I could also see you being like, he's too prepared.
Interesting.